So another guy I worked with on The Great Defender was a guy named R.J. Stewart. And R.J. was going on to do a show with Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert. It was a spin-off from Hercules called Xena Warrior Princess. And R.J. said, do you want to come do this with me? And I was like, yeah, sure, I guess so. And at the same time, two guys I worked with on the Cosby Mysteries, Lee Goldberg and Bill Rapkin, who are these mystery writers, had a friend named Ernie Wallengren who was taking over the New Adventures of Flipper. And they said, well, do you want to do that? And I said, well, yeah, sure, great. So I called my agent. I said, well, I have these two great offers, The New Adventures of Flipper and Xena Warrior Princess. I said, RJ is really thinks this Xena thing is going to be big. And they said, Terry, repeat after me. Xena Warrior Princess. I said, I know. But I swear, I met Raimi, is really smart, and I think, this is going to be a big hit. He goes, Xena Warrior Princess. He goes, look, Flipper, everybody knows Flipper. It's a brand. People love dolphins. That's the job you should take. So I end up writing 3 episodes of Xena on as a freelancer, and I end up going on to the New Adventures of Flipper. I didn't know it at the time, but I could not write Xena to save my life. That's not my thing. The whole fantasy genre, it was really difficult for me. Those guys were so gracious, and RJ was terrific, and Rob and Sam Raimi, and I was there for the very early development. There was I was in the room with them, and they were just figuring out whether or not Xena should have a sidekick, Gabrielle. I mean, and there was at one point they were talking about this forest nymph character who didn't speak. It was really the very, very early days of developing that series. And I realized I was in over my head because, again, the fantasy genre is just not anything I know about, and I really struggled with it. And again, all thanks to R.J. Stewart, who just really helped me along and helped me through this, and Rob Tapper, and those guys were really patient with me. And it was probably good that I didn't take that show. Because when you watch the guys who can do it, the R.J.'s and the Rob Tapperts and the Steven Sears, those guys can really just write the shit out of that stuff, and it's great. And I just I don't know how to do that. It's just not the way my brain worked. It's not what I was interested in or good at. So it was probably good. But I did take the New Adventures of Flipper job. And that was also a very difficult job because I don't think most people realize that there are really organically only 10 stories in the world that involve a dolphin. And when you figure out what those 10 stories are, and then you've still got 12 more episodes to do, there's nothing like the sound of those crickets in the room. It's just Flipper has to be involved in a murder. Flipper has to it's really impossible. And it was me, Allison Adler, who went on to co-create the New Normal, and we were the young writers, and Ernie was the showrunner. And Ernie was a lovely, lovely guy who had written on the Waltons, I think was one of his first jobs, and just incredibly talented and a great guy. But I'm sure we gave him almost nothing. I don't really know anything about dolphins, or I grew up in Brooklyn. Pigeons. I know a lot about pigeons and cats. I vaguely remember the original Flipper from when I was a kid, and then I actually watched videotapes of the show, but it didn't have anything to do with the New Adventures of Flipper, which was much later, and it involved a relationship between a guy, Brian Wimmer was the actor who played a oceanographer, and his woman who had kids, and I don't even remember. I kind of blocked a lot of it out because it was just so hard for me to do. So I remember early on in the writer's room, I kind of kiddingly pitched a story where Flipper comes upon an abandoned missile left over from the Cuban Missile Crisis, because the show took place down in Florida, and we laughed about it. And it was like, yeah, what if So and months later, we were in the room and we were banging our heads against the wall, and Ernie Wallengren said, "What was that thing about the missile crisis?" And we actually ended up doing an episode called Flipper Missile Crisis, where Flipper finds this missile and terrorists, and it was just really, it was really not good. So Allison and I, she taught me how to play poker. I remember this is one of the big things I took away from the job. We would sit in the room and play poker together, and she was a great poker player, and I actually went down to Hollywood Park with her a few times and played poker, and that was fun. And we didn't get a lot of real Flipper writing done. Unfortunately, Ernie kind of just, the bulk of it was sort of left on him. And remember, midway through, the show was produced by Sam Goldwyn Jr., and I think he had a personal investment in the show, possibly, because he was very hands-on, more hands-on than I had ever seen. And even though it was early in my career, I was like, God, he's really interested in the nuances of the story. And the story, some weeks we'd get called into his office, and he didn't think that there was enough dolphin, and then there was too much dolphin. And I was like, isn't this guy running a big company? Like and anyway, one day Ernie called me up and he said, I need you to come out to my house in Calabasas. So just this tone in his voice, it was like a little ominous. And I drove out there, and he said, listen, I think you're a great writer, and I really love you and Allison, and you guys are great. And Sam's not really happy with the show and the direction of the show. He wants more dolphin or less dolphin. And I said, yeah. And he goes, he wants me to sort of just clean house and just hire a whole new staff. And I said, okay, what does this mean? He goes, well, you get your contract gets bought out and you get 50 cents on the dollar. And I said, you mean I can go home and I get 50% of what I'm owed for the rest of the year? He goes, yeah. I went, oh my God. You're kidding me. I get like a check for like $80,000, whatever it was, like more money than I'd ever seen in one time in my life. He goes, yeah. I was like, oh my, because you're not upset. I said, I'm upset. I just won the lottery. I don't have to write for a dolphin anymore. Oh my God, good luck. I see you're such a great guy. I said, I hope this show's so successful. I don't know what I'm doing here. Thank you. And I drove home from Calabasas. I was so happy. I had this big chunk of money and I didn't have to write for a dolphin. That show almost crippled me. I remember and it was actually Frank Renzulli who talked me off the ledge. I was home on the 4th of July. I guess it was 1994, 95, I guess. I'm writing Flipper, and I got to a scene, and I was dead. Everything ground to a halt. I didn't know what to do. And I called Frank at home, and I said, I have to call Ernie and quit. I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, get a grip on yourself, take a walk around the block, come back, and finish the fucking script. I said, okay. I said, I came back. I did just that. I called him up. I said, I'm taking you out for dinner. I said, thank you. I said, thank you for talking me off that ledge. I said, I just don't. I'm just not connecting to this material. So anyway, months later, the idea of being let go and set free for something I really wasn't cut out to do was great. But at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was now sort of again without a job.